I'm gonna ask it. Is Pep Guardiola overrated? And look, before I go into my opinion, which it's my opinion, guys, I want to let y'all know what made me spark me to talk about this. So Graham Souness came out in a podcast. Graham Souness, Liverpool legend, came out in a podcast, and he essentially said Pep Guardiola is not a genius manager. He just happens to have the most money, or let's afraid that the teams that he's on happen to have a lot of money and the best players. And look, I think there's some truth in that, definitely. When you look at his career, like from front to bottom, he's never finished below first and second place. So that's just phenomenal. He's a brilliant manager with a brilliant system that play brilliant football. You can't argue that. He plays, out of all these managers, they play the most appealing football, possession based, very tiki-taka. He not invented, but he kind of made tiki-taka, the new modern form of tiki-taka, extended from what Johan Cruyff really started, and then he came into Barcelona after Rijkaard, and then observed the players from La Masia and created that juggernaut of that Barcelona team. Then he took his philosophy and kind of revolutionized German football, and then he did the same with coming to England and completely take over the Premier League, winning all the Premier Leagues that he's won, winning the treble, and kind of revolutionized the way English Premier League football is looked at. So, look, Pep Guardiola, he's a very, very good coach, but in my opinion, the amount of players and talent that he's had, there's some other managers that in my opinion, I'll take over them, because I think that they didn't do more than him, but they did more with less. Like for an example, a Jurgen Klopp, who Pep Guardiola says has probably been my biggest rival. A Jurgen Klopp, for me, I don't have the exact numbers with net spend and all that. Maybe that's bad. I didn't come in and do my research. But when you look at the amount of players that City are able to bring in, just, in his first season, he looked at it, he's like, oh, this is not good enough. And he brought in like 4 fullbacks. It's just the amount of players that they were able to bring in through his time, it's ridiculous. And he has $100 million players like Jack Grealish, who spent most of the first season on the bench, who still are struggling really to get in this season now, and we're almost 2-3 seasons later. When you look at Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp never had those kind of signings, never had those kind of, he had he brought in, Salah, Alisson. Okay, well, he brought in Salah a little bit earlier, which was Salah was kind of like he turned out to be great at Liverpool. He didn't come in for a ridiculous fee, but he did the 2 big signings they did, and this is the year that they reached the Champions League final, or no, well, they did 2 signings, but they did Van Dijk January, and then they bought Alisson, so Alisson wasn't there for the first Champions League final. But the 2 big signings that they did was Virgil van Dijk and Alisson. But when you look at it, that's kind of when you look at the net spend, it came from selling a brilliant player in Coutinho. So, but when it comes to pure transfer value, the amount Pep Guardiola had at Man City compared to Jurgen Klopp is nowhere near. In Jurgen Klopp, they also play beautiful attacking gegenpress football, heavy metal football, with not having the amount of money that Pep Guardiola had at Man City, and the accomplishments, obviously. And if you look at it, the point totals, Liverpool were there a lot. It came down to the final day for 2 or 3 Premier League seasons that it could have really went the other way. And easily went the other way for Liverpool on Liverpool's behalf when you look at those 2 seasons. And then when you look purely at the trophies, you have a few Super Cups and EFL Cups and FA Cup, but Jurgen Klopp, out of the big trophies, he won a Premier League and a Champions League, which is nowhere near as much as Pep Guardiola. But I just feel like the money was the creation of that gap. I feel like if you put Jurgen Klopp and you give him the amount of money that Manchester City has, oh my goodness. And if you reverse Pep Guardiola on Liverpool, I don't see anywhere near the same success. And Pep Guardiola, he's very measured with choosing his destinations. He's looking. Whenever he went to whenever he went to whenever he started off at Barcelona, that in my opinion that was his biggest job. Like that's his most like brilliant job that he's done. The way he brought in these youngsters, these integrated people from La Masia, the Xavi, the Iniestas, the Messis. They're all very, very talented players. Don't get me wrong, they're all very, very talented players, but they're kind of unseasoned. And Pep Guardiola brought his system to tiki-taka up to them, and he integrated them, and he got them playing brilliant football. He won a treble with them. And so for me, what he did at Barcelona is his biggest achievement, just because of the fact that it's a team that he kind of brought up. And then when I talk about him being clever in the way he chooses teams, he goes to Bayern Munich, and for me, he goes to the best team in Germany, who has the best players in Germany, and who just takes the best players off every other team and puts them on them. That's what they really do in Bayern when you look at the rest of the teams in Bundesliga, especially during that time period. So for me, what Pep Guardiola did there, he won Bundesligas, he won every Bundesliga then, but he didn't have the success in Europe. So for me, that wasn't really that much of a successful stint, because winning Bundesligas and DFB Pokal, that's not the level. When we're talking about potential, greatest managers. And then he goes to Man City, again, being clever with his decision making, knowing the amount of money and the amount of ability that they have to spend. Pep Guardiola has been really, really clever in the way he chose his teams and the way they choose teams to manage. And for me, when you look at pound to pound, another manager, for me, Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho did so much more with so much less. Like, is Pep Guardiola capable of winning a Champions League with the Inter Milan and Porto teams that Jose Mourinho won with? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Jose Mourinho won a treble with Inter Milan. Inter Milan was, a good team, but not a good. They had Schneider as a brilliant player. Could argue he should have won the Ballon d'Or that year. But their striker was Diego Milito. They had guys like Pandev playing serious minutes. I'm not trying to say these guys were like trash or anything. I'm just saying, there's better teams. Defensively, they were very, very strong with Maicon, Materazzi, and so defensively, they were very, very strong. But going forward, it wasn't the best of team. And Jose Mourinho, through his management, Jose Mourinho and Jurgen Klopp, they're able to make a sum of the parts better than what they are. I think Pep Guardiola is able to get this talented group and just make them an unstoppable force. And what he did at Man City, the levels, the consistency. Man City, he also, the thing too is with Guardiola, he's very good motivator. He's very good at keeping his players focused. They'll never, when you win all these Premier Leagues, eventually, there seems like there might be like a loss of motivation. But you never see that with Man City. They're always on. And it's because of Pep Guardiola. It's because he won't allow that to happen. He's day in, day out in training. He won't allow, if he senses any of it, he'll ship you out. And he's a good manager. The way he dealt with the Cancelo situation. Like if you want, if you are becoming a problem, you're out. He is a brilliant manager for me, and he deserves all the credit in my opinion. He deserves all the praise and all that. But is he a little bit overrated? I think so, because I think of other managers were able to have the money he had. They'll be able to be not just as successful. They'll be able to be very, very successful. But the main thing is, I don't think you can put Pep Guardiola in these other situations with lesser teams, because we've never seen it before. We've never even seen that before too. I don't think whether or not he's capable of, I don't know, but I don't think so, because we've never seen it before. We've seen these other managers get put in lesser situations and elevate a team of the sum of their parts. And for me, that's why I will agree with the statement Pep Guardiola is overrated, because there's a lot of money spent on the teams that he's been on at Manchester City. A lot of money spent. And I really like to put Mourinho and Jurgen Klopp in those kind of situations. And those are the two main ones that I would say, I'll take them over this guy because of, what they did with less. But he's still a brilliant, brilliant manager. And not finishing below first or second is crazy. It's crazy. But You do remember, dude. His first year at Man City was a little bit of a mess. They go home to Monaco, I believe, in the semifinal. In the Premier League, they finished second to Chelsea, but they were comfortably in second. They didn't push Chelsea at all. And it was a Chelsea team that was not the strongest title winners. They were still a very, very good team under Conte and all that. Again, that's another manager, Conte, who's done good with lesser teams, especially that Chelsea team, having Victor Moses and Marcus Alonso at fullback, at wingbacks. But is Pep Guardiola overrated? Overrated? Yeah, for me, I'd have to say so. But he's still a top manager. He's obviously still a top manager.